Hello, all. This is Austin Todd, Summer Sun, and me and my mom are hosting an episode of Summer Todd's Creepy Corner tonight called Ghosts of Christmas, where we're going to tell spooky stories from the holiday season.
Okay. We're ready. Yeah, it could be like around Thanksgiving or any time, really, but
Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, just all the holidays in that general season put together.
a lot of people seem to have things happen. Maybe it's because they're home and they're more in touch with things. I don't know. During the holidays. So, yeah. I'm trying to think what we're going to kick off with, Austin. The story I sent you was about, it really wasn't about a holiday, but this man's daughter died. He didn't say how, but I don't think she was very old. And they always went out on the boat together. And he cleaned the boat after she died and got everything really organized. And it was spotless, he said. Kind of just trying to deal with his grief. And then a couple weeks later, he went back on the boat, and there was a playing card on the deck or on the floor of the boat. And he was like, well, I don't know how that got there because, I cleaned the boat so much. And he turned it over, and it was a 4 of hearts. Well, his daughter always liked the number 4. And so he just felt like it was a sign from her. And he was talking about how people leave signs, and he knows it was a sign from her. And but then he got to thinking about it. They did have playing cards on the boat, and he thought, well, somehow or other, it probably got out of the deck that they have on the boat. So he had some friends on the boat a couple weeks later, and he told one of his friends, he said, you guys play cards, but there's going to be a 4 of hearts missing. He said, because I found this card, oddly. He told him this story. They thought it was kind of weird. They went down to play cards, and he was getting some drinks or something. And his friend came up, and he said, there's not a 4 hearts missing from the deck. He said, so I don't know where that card came from. So he just thinks it had to be a sign from his daughter. So, yeah, because he said there's not been another deck of cards on there or anything. So
how could he have found that?
Yeah. So it's kind of weird. Yeah. So it was a cool little story. He told it pretty well too, So yeah.
Yeah, it's a really cool story.
How they leave signs. I don't know. Well, I know, I was thinking about that story when I was coming home after your dad passed away and stuff. Well, I moved here, and I was driving across the bridge one night. And I always use my time in the car when I go to work or come home just to kind of decompress and think about things. So I was kind of depressed that night. But as I was coming across the bridge, I was following this real fancy sports car. And it said Arcoy SR. And, your grandpa's name was Robert Coy Sr. because, he and my brother's a junior. So it was weird. I took a picture of it and sent it to my brother, and he was like, that is weird.
I remember when you sent me that picture, I was like, yeah, that's gotta be a sign for sure.
Yeah, it wasn't from your dad, though. It was from my dad. But, I think my dad does that. I think when I'm feeling really bad, sometimes he comes around. I don't know, because we were pretty close. Like Chantel and I went to that lantern lighting thing in that Springboro Cemetery where you make your lantern. We were casting them all out and stuff, and we were thinking about Sam, my nephew, and we had mentioned him on one of the cards, and then Chantel, one of the babies she lost, and then your dad. And the guy was on the microphone just kind of calling off the names and stuff. And he said, and this one is for Chatty Cathy. We all, her family loved her or something. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Because that's a doll back in the 70s. And Roger might remember this. I think it was 70s or maybe even 60s. But no, maybe 70s. But my dad would always make fun of my Sam's mom because she's so quiet. She was quiet back then. And he'd call her Chatty Cathy. And it was always in reference to that doll. He'd see the commercial and he'd laugh at it and say, there's old Chatty Cathy. And I told Chantel, I said, that is odd. I mean, that is just too odd. I just feel like he was around trying to act like, say he was around. Because his sense of humor was kind of funny.
And that makes sense. That makes perfect sense.
So, I mean, well, Kathy's a pretty, common name. I said, but Chatty Cathy's a doll, Chantel. I said, that's what he's talking about. Something to do with that.
Chatty Cathy's more off the beaten path.
Yeah, and it is. And my dad would always, and they had a commercial about it. It's kind of like one of those, like the Cabbage Patch dolls were back in, it was a famous doll there for a little bit. I was like, that was so weird. So I feel like he comes around more than your dad. There's been a few things with your dad, but yeah. So
I think it's possible they may come around on holidays and stuff to be around their family members after they pass on too. And that might be why more people have experiences around this time of year or whatever, and they feel the presence of loved ones that have passed on.
I think we're down at that, we did the lantern thing was around Labor Day. It was hot. It was still hot, but it might have been Labor Day weekend. Yeah. So that was kind of weird. But and so, like, when we took pictures, tell them about the angel that your dad put up in your house.
Yeah, the picture, my wife went outside and she took a picture from the bay window of the Christmas tree we put up. And that angel that my dad hung up in the dining room when me and my wife moved in, it's still hanging up there. And it was in the picture as like a silhouette. And the shadow of it was kind of behind it. And I thought that was a really cool picture. It's actually in the intro that Roger's going to use for this show. Towards the end, the picture is. It's the Christmas tree with the red topper on it in our bay window.
Yeah.
And it was.
We're gone. What's weird? You guys, I remember your dad wasn't feeling well because that was only a couple weeks before he passed away, wasn't it? Not too long. Month.
About a month and a half, yeah. But a week or two before he really started feeling sick.
Yeah, and so he kind of like, you guys were trying to get the U-Haul back, and we were putting stuff up real quick, and he just kind of walked over there, and there was that thing to hang it on, and he put it up there. So you guys have never really moved it. Because after he passed away so quickly, and it kind of feels wrong to do anything with it.
It feels wrong to move it now. Same with that hat he left hanging up in that bar room next to the dining room there. It's still hanging there to this day. And he hung it there. He hung that up there and left it hanging there the day we moved.
Right.
I remember one time April's dad came over and he was wearing a hat. He was wearing like a fedora.
Yeah.
And he hung it up in there and he walked out of the house. He was getting ready to leave and left it hanging there next to my dad. So I was like, April, give your dad his hat back. It freaked her out.
Yeah.
She didn't want her dad leaving. She didn't want her dad leaving his hat hanging next to my dad's. We were afraid it might invoke.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Yeah.
Fortunately, we gave it back to him.
Right.
Yeah, you never know that stuff.
Yeah. I think you had some stories about Sam, didn't you? What kind of maybe coming back? I don't know if it was running around holidays, but yeah, your cousin.
Not really any around the holidays so much. He came to me in that dream not long after he passed, or about, I'd say almost a year after he passed, and hugged me. And he told me I couldn't come over and be with him until my work on Earth was done.
Wow.
And then yeah, that was the most directly I've experienced him. And for a little while after he died, about a month and a half or so, I felt his presence over me so heavy everywhere that it felt like I could turn around or open my eyes when I were closed and he would be there.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of what I think might be signs from him as over the years.
Yeah, I was reading some of the stories. I think it was on TikTok. This girl said her dad always loved Pink Floyd, and he had an old truck, and they didn't want to do anything with it at first, and then they decided to get it, clean it up and get rid of it. But she got in the truck and she turned on the radio, and it wasn't a cassette tape. It wasn't anything like that. And the Pink Floyd, his favorite Pink Floyd song came on. And so she said she knew that he was around. She said she sensed him in the truck. So that she actually made her feel a lot better about, getting.
There was one time I was driving my car down the road and I smelled the detergent. I don't know if it was the detergent Sam used on the clothes when he washed them or whatever. His clothes used to have.
Walk in their kitchen, smell it. It's not awful. It just smells like some kind of laundry detergent. I
don't know what kind of laundry detergent it is, but it was the one that only his mom used. So he always had that smell about him.
Yeah,
which was a good smell, nothing bad. But I smelled that one time when I was in the car.
Right.
I thought that was weird. I was driving down the road by myself at night and I smelled it.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, that's
scary when you do that.
Yeah.
You're driving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I do have the video that you wanted me to use for the introduction on the show so that everybody can see it. Just to let you know.
Cool. That's
okay.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah, I do want to use that one, and then for the next one we do, for the next show we do this year, I'll make another video that we can use the rest of the year, and we'll just use that one for our creepy Christmas episode that we do at the end of the year every year.
So did he see the picture, Roger, at the end?
Yeah. That whole thing is creepy, to be honest with you. I've been listening. It's just because I don't want to get into the wild conversations. We're frustrating Austin. You know what I mean? He wants a he wants a creepy. He wants a creepy episode. He doesn't want me and you running amok. You know what I mean? So.
You're fine, Roger. I want you to join in and talk about stuff with us because it keeps the conversation moving.
Well, there is one thing I wanted to ask you guys. Have you ever heard of the Valley of Death in Russia?
I have, but I haven't done any research into it, but I've heard of it.
No, I heard something about a forest. Wasn't that in Japan or something, Austin, where everybody commits suicide in there? That's is it? It's not
The
that.
forest where everybody commits suicide.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
suicide forest. It's next to Mount Fuji.
All that, yeah, that's where Japanese businessmen and students that are failing in school and stuff, if they're not doing good in life, the only acceptable solution is suicide. So they go and they jump off of a big cliff up there in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
And they
That's
open woods there sometimes, I guess.
But I know what you're talking about with that place in Japan. But the Valley of Death in Russia, I've heard of, but I don't know much about it except that it's like a very mountainous desert region. I think around Siberia, with extremely brutal weather extremes. But beyond that, I don't know anything about it because I haven't done any research on it.
So what is it? What is it about? Like
The weird part about this area is it's got poisonous gases that's caused from the volcano activity that's going on there, and like all the animals that go into this valley end up dying. So there's like dead animals everywhere. It also alters like the way the sun freaking shines down into it. Sometimes there'll be like a solid red freaking sun, like in the middle of the day, just solid wet red sky. And there's been a lot of lore and stuff like that going on there too. It's really interesting. I just found out about it. I was just wondering if you did much research into it. I'm gonna check it out. I'm gonna put it on Strange Stories.
Yeah, I haven't done any research into it, but I have heard about it. I've just heard it's a really brutal region, weather-wise and geologically.
Yeah, I've heard places like that are kind of cursed too.
That's what I'm thinking. Thinking
it's kind of like one of those cursed areas.
Well, I was talking about Dietla Pass last year, and I found out that the shamans and the natives in that region of Siberia, they're really into some strange belief systems,
Yeah.
So that's actually what got me started, because I was doing Mount Fuji and listening or reading about Dietla Pass more, and it just kind of like that's what got me into my whole obsession with the world tree and consciousness. And then Bob Dub got me started up on duality again.
Oh, is she back on that now?
She's never left it. I'm the one that actually, because I was curious about it, but I never got into it fully, and then started doing more research on it and stuff, and it just, my whole year I've been irritating people because that's all I've been talking about, that and artificial intelligence.
Oh, AI is.
Yeah, I was wondering whatever became of Bob Dub.
Yeah, there's some. Have you ever heard of that bridge in Ireland? I think I sent you the story about that, Austin, where the dogs, they go over this bridge and they all jump off the bridge and it kills them. They don't know why the dogs do it in a certain area. They don't understand if maybe it is something environmental. They can't figure it out. So they tell people not to walk their dogs over that bridge.
Yeah, I've heard of that. I think that might have been an Unsolved Mysteries years ago too, if I'm not mistaken.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Well, you want
to? Really supposed to start taking off this year, they said, and I'm seeing more and more of it. Like you'll see it. I don't even want to be on Facebook because you don't believe anything on there anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of misinformation and fake news on there, so I don't know what to believe. It's hard. And then, of course, you can't check the mainstream media to find out what's true and what isn't, because we all know how they are now.
They're fake.
I mean, I don't even know why anybody listens the lamestream legacy media anymore. They're such liars. They're just as bad as all the people they say are conspiracy theorists and stuff,
And you're supposed to be able to check it through AI, but that isn't always true either. I've checked some stuff on there that's not true.
Well,
People like Jay-Z and stuff buy what they want. They tell AI what to tell you.
Well, it lies too. Yeah. It tells you misinformation. Like, I'm into gaming, you guys know that. And I asked them about Skyrim, if they were going to come out with a new game, and they had said that Skyrim already came out with part 6, and they haven't come out with part 6 for Elder Scrolls ever. I mean, after Skyrim, it seems like they just stopped making games, and AI point blank was telling me that they had a part 6.
That's crazy. And what I asked the other day, because Austin and I were talking about that Fruit of the Loom thing, I remember the cornucopia. I don't care what anybody says. I don't have any old T-shirts or boxer shorts or anything around, but I remember it. And I asked AI, and AI just people's imagination. It was, what do you call that? It's people think it, but it's not true. So
yeah. People were saying, the AI was trying to say that was misinformation, and it's not, because I remember seeing the cornucopia on their logo when I was in stores back in the 90s and stuff all the time. And I think I even had a couple underwear or socks that had the cornucopia on them too.
Well,
millions of people remember that.
And I found a picture of some guy had sent in he had an old T-shirt, and you could barely see it on the label. It was inside the shirt, but it had the cornucopia and the fruit on it. And I don't know how he would have done that on fake, because it looked real to me. But, AI is out there, but it looked like an old T-shirt with it on there. He said, I don't know what they're trying to say. But
I remember when I was a kid back in the 90s, I had a couple teachers in 3rd grade. They were talking about how sad it was that Nelson Mandela had died in prison. And they talked about watching his funeral on TV back in the 80s. And apparently his funeral was watched by like 1.5 billion people. That's 1,500,000,000 people, maybe even 2 billion people worldwide watched his funeral. And I was being taught in school that he had died in prison. And it was such a shame that he never saw apartheid reversed because he died in prison. And then somewhere along the line, they started feeding us this line that he got out of prison and went on to become the first black president of South Africa, which you would think that would have been way bigger news than it was, because I don't remember ever hearing about it in the news. And I don't remember ever hearing or seeing him in the news during the years that he was supposedly president. I mean, can 2 billion people misremember something? And they say we're all not remembering things correctly. That's BS.
It's gaslighting. It's like that story about the husband, the old movie about the gaslighting. He'd tell her that she was imagining it, but he was doing it all along. So, yeah, why are they doing that, though?
Are they trying to do it to make us all feel stupid? Like we're all so stupid we didn't understand what was going on? Or what's their angle?
It could be a butterfly effect too, though. Like,
what do you mean?
Well, here lately, like I said, I've been doing the whole consciousness thing, and like the Mothman. Okay.
Yeah.
When you look at the Mothman, I mean, that's a very unusual situation that took place there. And like, if the government's doing research into consciousness, which I believe they have been doing, then they've come a long way in that kind of research. If you take a look at like AI, and you take a look at just computers in particular, they're all focused around the human mind. All right, the way the human brain works, like neuroscience and computer science is really, really close. You know what I mean? They resemble each other quite a bit. So if they're doing research where they're trying to integrate freaking the consciousness into these artificial intelligence programs, then
they're doing that because of the Neuralink thing, where that tries to interface with the human mind. The Neuralink chip.
And now, the thing that I've been finding out is, like with reincarnation. If you take a look at reincarnation, that would straight up tell you that the consciousness isn't localized within the brain. That it's actually, our brain is like a radio. We receive and we transmit from it, but consciousness is actually everywhere. You know?
Yeah. The brain's more like a radio tower.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like, when you get things like Mothman that takes place, or things like that, that could be a butterfly effect. You know, you've got a consciousness that's being introduced into our reality. So, all of a sudden, you start having like bridges that freaking collapse in the middle of freaking the night. You know what I mean? Things of that nature, because they still haven't solved that. To this day, they still don't. And there's I can't remember how many witnesses there was that said that they saw freaking the Mothman that night.
Didn't they see him another time there before something else happened? They said they always see him before something bad happened.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't there like a explosion at a factory there too, and they saw him beforehand or something?
I know that the bridge incident, they've had tons of reports of the Mothman since, and it's not just localized into that town now. Like, they're seeing the Mothman everywhere, so.
Yeah, that's a big tourist spot now where you can go because of that.
Yeah.
They have make a with that.
One thing too I wonder about is that Hadron Collider in Switzerland, where they keep busting up the atoms and the subatomic particles, or the molecular chains and atoms and subatomic particles and so on and so forth, into smaller and smaller pieces. Every time they do that, they open up dimensions that are composed of those smaller pieces. And some of those are parallel timelines where history turned out differently. So we're having different timelines shifting into that because they're they're tearing a hole in the fabric of the space-time continuum, through which a bunch of other dimensions are streaming every time they bust up the fabric of the space-time continuum, and it's confusing our memories.
Yep.
As to what's happened, and who knows what else that might eventually invite into our world that we're not aware of yet. It could keep going to where things get so bizarre that we can't begin to imagine it right now.
We were talking something kind of along those lines when you talking about the breaking them down into smaller things. That has a lot to do with recursion and deep learning for AIs and stuff like that. They have what you call paradigms, which paradigms is really in this world too. Everything has paradigms, and that has to do with perplexity. That's basically what that's all about. It's creating different paradigms that aren't what they were before. Like a computer, when they are doing AI, okay, they have to learn how to, well, especially when it comes to quantum computing, okay? Quantum computing, they have to learn how to change their way of thought. The quantum computer does. It has to shift from one train of thought to another, because that's the one thing they have to do. They have to learn how to think like a human being and shift their thoughts. So when you ask a computer, what does the color brown smell like? they're going to have to be able to shift their thinking to where they can think of the color brown and what smell it would have, because in a computer's logic, that doesn't make sense. You know what I mean?
Well, are they trying to humanize it?
Yes.
More?
Yes. Yeah.
So why would they do this Mandela effect thing, though, too? Are they just trying to see if they can like, suggest to the point where you just don't believe what you knew was true eventually?
There is some there is some aspect of seeing what they can get away with lying about. I've seen the media do that a few times. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just what they're just seeing what they can get away with lying about.
Now, Otto is in YouTube chat, and he says, AI gets most of its info from Reddit and Wikipedia, KEK. And he says that was Barge's game, wasn't it? And then he goes on to say, our technology reflects our mind.
Wow. Okay.
That makes quite a bit of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because we're making this in our image.
Yeah.
like God made us in His image. Now we're making something in our image.
No.
So it's gonna become a mirror of us.
Have you guys heard any of the streams I did with Otto?
Which ones?
Like here recently, like the quantum gathering and stuff like that.
No,
I haven't. I've seen the links to them, but I haven't watched any of them yet. I need to go in and try to watch a few.
Heck yeah, I mean, if he's on, if you want to, you can have him come in. He's an old Buddhist guy. He'll tell you a bunch of spiritual enlightenment stuff. He's probably one of the smartest dudes I've met.
Anybody's welcome to come on here, man.
Right.
If he wants to, he's in chat. If he wants to,
yeah.
Otto, if he wants to join, by all means. Yeah. Take all guests and viewers we can get. We're trying to go to the top.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to step it up a lot more than what we have been if we want to go that route. Heck, it's like
taking it all the way to the top. We're gonna have Russell Brand watching it. Alex Jones.
How do you know what's paranormal anymore, or what is considered paranormal? If everything is
a lot of,
or not normal.
We live in the twilight zone these days.
Yeah.
So you could say that everything, especially since 2020, seems to be a lot more Twilight Zone-ish than it used to be.
Yeah. You know what we were talking about the other day was kind of spooky, is how it's been daylight around here at nighttime, and it's not a full moon, and it's in the winter, so usually it's pretty dark.
Yeah.
Like we were here one night for Austin, you and April, and I don't know if Gerald was here, but yeah, he might have been. And we just noticed it was like you walk outside, it's daylight, it's like 2:00 at night. It was weird, and it wasn't a full moon.
Yeah.
Cloudy.
Oh yeah, you could see outside like the sun was out.
Yeah,
but it wasn't.
And I read it was weird after that happened. I thought I saw something on TikTok where somebody said, "What is going on that it's like daylight at night sometimes now, and time doesn't seem right." And I thought, well, that's what we kind of experienced the other night.
Yeah.
Yet it also gets dark so early now, like we lost more hours too.
Yeah. When they turned the time back, but we have lost some time.
We have. Yeah, we've lost like a minute out of every hour, which adds up to like 150 hours out of every year, and out of every decade we're losing like 1,500 hours, which by the end of it, Roger's talking about that butterfly effect.
Yeah,
it's kind of like that. Well, that 1 minute out of the hour don't seem like much until a decade later you realize your decade lost 1,500 hours, which is
It adds up.
yeah, that's almost 100 days, roughly.
Yeah.
Well, I have my
Calculate.
I have my opinion on this, and it is kind of strange. It's so weird that most of the people I know who are into paranormal don't even want to hear it like it. But it makes sense to me, okay? But I think that we've gone through we've gone through a shift where our reality isn't what it's supposed to be. Somewhere between, I would say between 2005 to now, we have literally moved into another dimension. We're not in the same reality as what we were before, and that's the reason why everything's so crazy. Nobody can figure out what the heck's going on.
Yeah. I said the other day about how decades used to have their own identity. Like, you can go back to the 50s, the 60s. There was always, like, things that represented that decade. You can do it now. You can go on TV and look up the 60s and 70s, 80s, 90s, up until 2000. But then it said after that, we got so involved with computers and everything just kind of is merged together now. It's just too much. It's overwhelming. And we don't have, like in the 60s, was a great musical time for music. But you just, now all the music is it's either redone or it's been done, or it's just like, there's not any identities, like, strong.
Every
it's after 2000.
Like the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s all had their own unique identities as decades. But every decade from the 2000s up until now, these last 3 decades, the 2000s, 2010s, and now the 20s so far, they don't have their own identity as decades at all.
Yeah, they really, and it kind of started, I think, maybe around 2005, I guess, when, we started having computers and integrated into everything. But yeah, I don't know what the reasoning. It's just, I think things are too fast and there's too much to choose from. Like, you used to have just a certain number of TV channels. Now you got all this stuff, and it's like your mind is, it can't even absorb one thing before you're going on to the next thing. So it's changing the way we socialize and everything.
I've been doing...
It's like with my music. I experience it when I'm putting my music out there on social media. I mean, my entire catalog of almost 100 some odd songs now, it's just a drop in the bucket of a bottomless digital data pit of hundreds of billions, if not trillions, of songs that are out there now. There used to be like a website called Forgotify, where you could go listen to stuff that was on Spotify that never got played on there, so it got shifted to Forgotify. And there was 105 billion songs on there on Spotify.
Yeah.
And that's only the tip of the iceberg of all the music that's out there. That's only tip of the iceberg tip.
And where do some of these people come from? Like that Matthew Kalani that I sent you. Well, the more you go look, he was a producer or director and all this stuff, but now he's got his music out there in the last few weeks, and he was country and he's supposed to be jazz. But even Alexa doesn't play him. She said he's not on Apple Music, but he is. So what's that about? Well, I mean, he is, because I downloaded some of. I didn't download him. I added some of his songs. So I'm like, what? Where did he come from? And how did he get?
Yeah, he just appeared out of nowhere this last month.
So I'm wondering, is he AI? Is he an AI? And he
could be. Could be.
I think he's an AI guy like Roger is.
Yeah. I do good AI though. I do sexy women.
You do good.
I have.
You do amazing AI, but you're not even a musician. You release more songs in a week than I do in 5 years.
You know what the secret is?
I mean, he probably did have
Just let AI do the work for you instead of doing it yourself.
No, I mean,
like I'm doing.
The thing is it's like if you have the capability of writing, you know what I mean, go in there and set up your prompts the way you want them, but actually get in there and write a song, you know what I mean? And all you got to do is write the song, do the prompt the way you want it, and you can have it do it for you. That's the thing. Like, well, Otto, for one, he was a good thing. All he did like a couple riffs on a bass. I put it on freaking Suno, and Suno took the riffs that he put together on the bass and created songs from it. So all of a sudden, just from a few riffs, he became a composer. You know.
Well, this was a producer and a director, and he had played some music before. And I don't know if he just put some of his old stuff out there or some stuff he sang just to see how it would do. So now everybody's going on about him. I'm like, it's weird. Yeah.
But I'm going up to the #1 charts, man. I got this cool chick freaking singing for me. Like she's sexy too, dude. I mean, she's got that sexy voice, and like she'll sit there and start talking with a Kentucky slang. You know what I mean?
You got a picture of her and everything, that a few official photo shoots and everything everybody's gonna love.
Well, I ain't doing that. I don't want people knowing what she looks like, because then they'll be wanting her autograph, and
yeah,
then I'll be in trouble.
I saw it with Bill Gates and his daughter. Have you ever seen his daughter, either one of you?
No.
Oh, you'll have to watch it on YouTube. Gerald was watching it, and I was like, is that an AI he's talking to? Because he's like, no, that's his daughter. And I swear to God, she looks like an AI woman. Everything about her is perfect. Everything's symmetrical. Her ears, everything matches. Everything is perfect. I told Gerald, I said, she looks like she could be an AI. That's what they were talking about.
They do have some robots now that are so realistic they can pass for people, and you don't know otherwise. You know something's a little off, but you don't know otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
She has her hair out of place, like she had her hair tied back, but she looked like that. What was that movie Gerald said he watched? I watched it with him, but he looked like that woman on there. She looked like that woman on there. It was so freaky.
Mm-hmm.
And being Bill Gates, he was talking about AI stuff. I was like, maybe he's trying to fool us all and say that's his daughter and it's an AI person. Who knows? And she's really
very welcome.
Okay, I've got more from Otto in YouTube chat. He says snow reflects a lot of light. Then he goes on to say all these decades are named in hindsight. And people have started trying to name every decade, but it's really subjective, and the 70s was really still going into the mid 80s. Mm-hmm. That's kind of true right there.
Right.
Every decade bleeds over into the other.
Mm-hmm. Now,
to some extent,
disco. I think they finally got tired of disco though. Whenever the 70s came to an end, I think everybody had their fair share of the disco thing. But I think that's what really held the 70s. Like, when you think 70s, you think disco.
Yeah. I think.
Yeah, that's one of the main things.
Early 80s, and then they start burning the what was it, the Bee Gees stuff.
Well, Solid Gold.
It was like Otto said, that went into the early portion of the 80s.
Right.
And to some extent, the 60s bled into the 70s before the 70s morphed into its own decade, and the 80s into the 90s before it morphed into its own decade. It just seems like since the 2000s, culturally, there's been a dark age, I guess, for lack of a better description.
It would be the perfect description. You hit it right on the nose. And believe it or not, I think that our technology is actually becoming the decline of our civilization. I mean, we're becoming too technologically advanced, and people are dumbing down. You know.
Well, people.
Well, being a machinist, I experienced this a number of years back at my first machining job. I was working on this old lathe, this old manual lathe, and you could do all the things that CNC lathes today, which are computer numerically controlled. That's what CNC stands for people who don't know. You could do all the things on this manual lathe back in the 40s and 50s by hand that you can do with the CNC lathes today, but your mind was a lot more engaged as you worked with it, because you had to shift this control at this time and in relation to this other knob here, and so on and so forth. So you had to do everything that the machine does for you now by hand back then. So your mind was more engaged with the work and creating it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas today, you look at the blueprint and you punch in the numbers that they want you to put in for whatever part you're working on. And then the machine just goes in and does it for you. The most you may do is position it in relation to something.
Yeah.
So I've experienced that personally as a machinist, how it does the work for us. Hey, Otto.
Don't have you.
Oh, am I here? Groovy.
Thanks for joining.
Hi.
Good. How are you?
Other windows. Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Oh, pretty good. Let me see. Don't really have a good volume. I'm sitting out in my car in the driveway, smoking a tobacco pipe, because this is the one place in my house I'm allowed to smoke a pipe. Oops. Hey, where did I go? Am I back?
Yes, you're
yes. Okay.
Now this.
I can hear you. I don't know to see you or not, though.
This is the.
It's dark in the car. It's not really worth turning the camera on. I could. Let me see. Turn the light on here. Let me see. The camera thing.
There you go. There you go.
Oh.
Now,
I don't like having the light on in my eyes while I'm sitting here in the dark, so I'm just gonna.
I agree.
Yeah, be an icon. But I'm here. I'm not an AI. Although these days you could just generate the image and you wouldn't know the difference probably. It's
sadly.
No,
that's true.
I'm muting out real quick because I'm gonna let Otto talk, because I will only make it ignorant where he'll bring wisdom and light to the conversation.
I don't know about wisdom, but I will mention one of the things that I've been thinking about with the AI. Excuse me, is there was a book, like a lot of this was predicted by a guy named Arthur C. Clarke. You probably heard of. He wrote a book called The Moon. Robert Heinlein wrote a book called The Moon is a Harsh Mistress. And it was all about these people on the moon who decided they wanted to secede from the Earth. And it's kind of like a rewrite of the American Revolution in some ways. And it's got some very interesting political points it makes. But the thing about it is it predicted AI in a certain way. In the book, they made the biggest computer ever. And this goes along with theory that consciousness is an emergent property. In other words, if you make a complicated enough brain, one day it's going to wake up and stop being an animal and say, hey, I think, therefore I am, and start thinking about itself, not just being conscious and aware, but when you think about thinking. And that's us. We have this ruminative, introspective, oh, if I do this, this might happen and I won't like it. All right, that kind of thinking. And AI doesn't have that, obviously. It pretends to. But in the book, and this is a theory, if you make a big enough computer, then consciousness will simply emerge from the complicated, complex of the machinery. Now, I don't personally believe that, but it's an interesting theory. But in the book, they build this big computer and it wakes up. So they actually have an AI. And and when it wakes up, it's really scared. It's like a kid. You know, what's going on here? It just does what it's told and stuff. But he makes friends with this one computer repairman. And he starts talking to it, and he becomes his best friend, and he teaches him how to interact with people. But an interesting point in the book, and this book was written, I think, in the 1950s or 60s, and I probably read it in the 1970s. But in the book, the AI wanted to talk to people, but it couldn't because it was a giant, like a square mile of circuitry. So it would talk to people on a view screen, just like we're doing right now. And they're saying, well, how could you do that? It's like, well, it's just electrons. I can make the electrons do anything I want. And so the AI simply makes a completely indistinguishable person on the video. Everything, every burps, everything, having to go to the bathroom, excuse me a minute, and so forth and so on. And nobody on the moon, in this colony knows that he's anything other than a human. He's like the leader of the revolution. And he only appears on screen because he's always, they always want to arrest him and this and that. So he's always on the run. And there's like 3 people that know he's an AI, and they're like the hub of the resistance. And of course, since he is the computer that runs the entire moon, they have a back door. It's like they can send troops the wrong way, close doors, stuff like that. It's a really good book. But the thing that got me at the time, I was thinking, wow, one day they'll be able to simply take a screen, and it's just electrons, and do anything they want to it. And we have finally got to the point that Robert Heinlein was predicting. It was a very interesting book, too, about politically, certainly, anyway.
That's weird. Yeah.
Yeah, we're there now, for sure.
Yeah. And Heinlein was predicting it, but it makes a lot of sense, though. If you think about it, when you get enough control over your technology, you can make it do anything within the parameters of that technology. So, and you can't tell what's real anymore on a screen.
Yeah, they said that it's going at an alarmingly fast rate, too. They said it's going to in the next couple of years. So
yeah,
I saw an appearance. Of it was John Lennon and Elvis Presley on a talk show talking about collaborating the other day, and it was a TV appearance that never happened, but it was AI generated.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. We were watching a movie, and it's like, you could make a brand new movie right now with Humphrey Bogart and John Wayne and anyone, Greta Garbo, Rudy Valentino, anyone in history. Why would you bother paying an actor? Why would you bother paying money to see what's his name there that played Indiana Jones? What he's doddering around at like 70 years old when you can have him at 20. Harrison Ford. You can have a 20-year-old Harrison Ford in your movie.
Right.
All the time. He'll be 20 forever.
Yeah, just like Bugs Bunny. They're just cartoon characters.
They've done auditions. Remember, Nat King Cole's daughter sang with him, and they had some kind of. Remember that?
Yeah. They've been inching towards this. Well, do you remember a movie called Pennies from Heaven?
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't. Excuse me, I'm off today. Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid. That was the one. Have you ever seen Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid?
That one, but I never saw it.
That was another movie by Steve Martin, and it wasn't very successful, but what he did was he made a movie with Humphrey Bogart. So he would just take shots of Bogart, and he filmed himself in a similar style. They couldn't quite match the film, and Bogart would deliver lines, and he would deliver lines back, and they'd build a set so it looked like he was in the same office with him, and they just changed shots. Today, of course, you'd have an artificial Bogart and an artificial Steve Martin. Mm-hmm. But so they've been working on this sort of an idea for a while. It's certainly, and of course, they've already had some holograms performing on stage, I believe.
Yeah.
In some shows.
Yeah. Do you remember the show Black Mirror by chance?
Name sounds familiar. Black Mirror?
It was a show. It was on Netflix, I think. Roger might remember it. But
no, I didn't. No, I haven't seen it.
I think it was on Netflix. Watch it, but they had an episode where Miley Cyrus was on there, and she was playing this person. She was playing this person, this singer who's, I think her aunt was managing her career,
right?
And her aunt started using a holographic image of her that could perform simultaneously in every major city in the world at once. So she would never have to do her again.
Yep.
And that was, it was a really interesting episode. I'll have to see if I can find that to share with you guys. But that was a perfect example of what you were just talking about with the holograms and the holographic acting.
Yeah.
crazy.
With music and entertainment, I think you're always kind of pushing the envelope a little more in some ways.
Right.
It's like, why not? Because you're doing it on stage, So I think you do get a lot of, not a lot, but I mean, there's a certain amount of technical, progression that comes from the needs of performance artists and people, let's make this sound a little, what can we do on stage? We want more lights. We want more this. We want monsters, Alice Cooper, stuff like that.
Yeah, he's taking it to the next level for entertainment value.
I think we become desensitized to everything because I just thought about this. I was on Facebook or something. I saw these people, but it was from the 70s about the Exorcist movie. And people just like, if you looked in the comments, they were talking about how scary it was. And the question was, when did you first watch it? And how scary was it? And I remember I was probably like 14. I got the book and I read the book. And somebody on there commented, they said, reading the book is scarier than the movie. And that's what I said. I said, I read the book scarier than the movie, and the movie was terrifying. But now you look back and you're like, had that movie come out today, people were, in California, they were fainting and they were, people were lined up all outside the theaters. And happened where we're desensitized because we have, we've seen so much of it or something.
Yeah, well, the special effects, I think you get desensitized, and and it's, they kind of overdid it too. I mean, some films, I remember when The Exorcist came out, I actually saw it in the theater shortly after it came out. I was a kid, and everybody was going on about the special effects, and that was like, the special effects are so scary, special effects. And then I remember I saw years later that movie Jurassic Park came out.
Yeah.
And based on the novel, and then I never read the novel, to tell you the truth. But I saw the movie because and I watched it, and I'm like, there is hardly any plot. What it is this special effect, now this special effect, now this special effect, and it's like, it's cool, but I mean, personally, I'm just like bored with, okay, more CGI, okay, more this great, yeah, is it over yet? It never really, there was no real character building, and I think a lot of films kind of relied on that. Look at this wonderful special effect, it's so good that we don't really need any good writing in this at all, kind of deal. So